President Trump vowing voter ID requirements for the upcoming midterm elections, posting in part for the Democrats' refusal to vote for voter ID or citizenship. The reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. For more on this, let's bring in Fox News contributor Kaylee McGhee White. Thank you so much, Kaylee, for being here. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we've got this new Pew Research poll showing 71% of self-identified Democrats support showing some kind of valid ID before voting. However, the Senate is not close to passing this bill. They did get the support of Susan Collins, who said that she wasn't going to support a previous version that in her mind would have required people to prove citizenship every time they cast a ballot. She just jumped on board, but they're not near the 60 that they need. And so far, there's not anywhere near enough support to break the filibuster to enact this. And the president is saying he's got another option. He posted this: if we can't get it through Congress, there are legal reasons why this scam is not permitted. I will be presenting them shortly in the form of an executive order. I hope the Supreme Court realizes that these corrupt and deranged Democrats, if they ever gain power, will not only be adding 2 seats to our roster of 50 with all the baggage there too, but will pack the court with a total of 21 Supreme Court justices. Their dream, which they will submit easily and rapidly when they move to terminate the filibuster. His point is that Democrats, when they take power, will terminate the filibuster. Do you see this happening in Congress? You know, so far Republicans have not been eager to jump on board with that idea.
Yeah, well, it has to happen in Congress. The problem with an executive order, well-intentioned as it might be, is that as soon as it's signed, some district judge somewhere in the country is going to strike it down as illegal. We've seen this over and over again since Trump took office last year. And the Senate can pass the Save America Act, but it needs to bring back the talking filibuster and dispense with this idea that they need 60 votes in order to do their jobs and govern the country, which is what they were elected to do. And they really should take a lesson from Democrats on this. You look at what's happening in Virginia right now with Democrats' totally illegal, unconstitutional power grab in their gerrymandering attempt. And Trump is right. Democrats are going to do this across the entire country. They're not governing by any set of rules or any set of principles, except for the one that allows them to win and maintain power. Republicans can either play the exact same way or they can lose to the left repeatedly over the next couple of years.
Yeah, to your point about the gerrymandering, Democrats in control of the Virginia legislature fast-tracking this new congressional map. It could turn the state's 6-1 Republican advantage into a 10-1 Democrat advantage ahead of the midterms. And it comes as voters in that state are looking at a ballot measure this spring that would turn over control of redistricting from the nonpartisan commission to the partisan legislature. How do you see that turning out? And do you think at all, looking back on the president's push to do this mid-cycle redistricting, will cost Republicans, at least in the short term?
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up playing out. I do think, as a conservative who lives in the DMV, what I find most insulting about Virginia Democrats' efforts here is the language that they're using on this referendum. They're telling voters to vote for it in order to, quote unquote, restore fairness to Virginia's maps. That is about as Orwellian as it could get. Look, Virginia's current congressional map has been bipartisanly rated as one of the most fair maps in the entire country. Turning this into a 10-1 for Democrats congressional map is the very definition of unfairness. You're essentially disenfranchising half of the state that consistently votes for Republicans. I wish that the state Supreme Court would have been a bit more assertive in striking this down as unconstitutional, which it is. But it might end up being up to the Supreme Court in D.C. to do something about it if it goes through.
Yeah, hot topic. We will be watching that closely. Could be very consequential. Kaylee McGhee White, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.